Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Four Friends in a Book podcast. My name is Chris Colston, and I'm here with my friends Isaiah Tukes, Kimberly Lake, The Real Reed, and this book, The Heavens and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. So if you're new to the channel, if you're new to our podcast, Four Friends in a Book is our monthly podcast series where we have a discussion centered around a book that we're reading together. And so we meet here to talk about that book, hot topics, and of course we hit you with the rants at the end. So it's somewhat of a book club, book review mixed with table talk amongst friends. And we are actually in season 4 of our podcast.
Right.
Still crazy to even think about that. So again,
Right.
if you're new, definitely go back, check out season 1, 2, 3, and get current with season 4 of Four Friends in a Book podcast.
Mhm.
All right. But let's jump into it. Look, Four Friends in a Book, we read books over here. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. So not a new author to us on this podcast. We actually read a previous work by James McBride, Deacon King Kong. So I think it was in season 2, maybe?
Probably.
Somewhere, yeah. So this is our second book from this author. Of course, it's in the fiction category for this month. So let's jump into it. Let's unpack. Y'all know how we kick this show off every episode. How did you feel about the book? And if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would that be? And look, Isaiah, I already lighting up over here, man. So I'm gonna come to my brother to kick this one off, man. What's up, man?
I wanted to start off light, somebody to start off light. But one thing about James McBride, he does make you slow down with his books because it is a lot going on. And I hate comparing this to his first book, but his first book, he knocked it out of the water, the last book that we read. But this one, first, let me tell you a backstory where it takes place in the 1930s with immigrants with the Jews and black people. They live alongside each other. But as I kept reading, it was so many characters. Every time I flipped the page, every time I went through chapters, like another character, like Fatty, Big Soap, Monkey Pants, Dodo. I even had to keep going back to previous chapters. Like, how do these people even coincide with each other? It was just so much going on within these books. This took me out. It's so many times I actually had to put this book down. Like, I'm like, it's enough of this. But it was okay read. It's not one of my favorites. Maybe the other podcast members have some better hopes for it, but I rate this book a 5.
Okay, so yeah, like I saw that look on your face, man. That's why I wanted to kind of get your first take on it. So a 5 coming from Isaiah, and look, Laria, she laughing at him. So I'm gonna come to you next. What do you think about this book?
And y'all know I love art and I love writers, and I enjoyed, like Isaiah, I enjoyed the first book that we read of his.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting somewhat of a similar kind of, because most authors, when you read their book, they kind of have a writing style.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't expect what I got. And I really, honestly, I was getting aggravated because I kept having to go back and reread chapters. It was like, because I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, okay, I didn't understand any of that. Let me go back. And I felt like I kept rereading the book, and I was getting so, and like he said, it took him out. It took me out too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like a book that I can follow fast, kind of go through. Yeah, you can slow down, but at some point, I mean, how many characters can we have? It was so many people. Like, I feel like reading this book, you have to read it a half a chapter a day to keep up with everybody. I needed a notepad to be like, okay, when they come back to this person's name, then you know who that is. Because he was saying, I'm like, who was that? I'm tired. Like, it's just kind of, it was a lot. It was a lot. If you have the time to sit down and really read and take notes and all that, this will be cool. But for me, I don't like that. I need you to get on in there. And I even called Kim and I was like, is it gonna get better?
Like, is it just me?
My bad.
Is it just, am I losing it? But
Yes.
yeah, and I don't ever want to go below a 5 on any, everybody gets at least
Oh
a
no,
5.
give it to him. Give it to him.
No, because he still took the time he's he's an African American male. I will not be the one going below a 5 to my brother. He wrote this book and a lot of people like it. So I don't want to be the person to be below that, but I will give it a 5. I'll give him a 5.
Look,
But I
look,
still
I'm,
love
I'm
you,
waiting.
James.
Look, I'm waiting on your real answer. So look,
No,
that's your
I just
politically correct answer.
no,
What's
but
the
that's my answer. Period. I just I I feel like it's so much. Look, and I'm going back to my own self, me writing when I had to do my book, and it was nowhere near fiction or anything. It
Mm-hmm.
was just my own life experiences, and that was a lot. So to come up with all of that and all those characters and develop all those people, that was a lot. But it just wasn't for me. It
I
wasn't
th-
my kind of book.
I think it was a little oversaturated that every character had a chapter. That was the lot for me. Like L'Oreal say, like when you had to keep going back to like, what did this character do with this other one? So it was hard for
Yeah.
me. I didn't want to do it if I like L'Oreal said this is a black author. He's written some great books, so that's why I was like, I'm gonna give it a 5. That's it. I can't go lower than a 5
Yeah.
too.
Now, if this was my first book ever reading from him, it might be lower. but but I know his style. He just did a different style this time, and I
That's
didn't
true.
care for it
That's
too
true.
much.
That's true.
yeah?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's kind of interesting. You guys are saying that because I felt like it was actually on par with the previous book.
Hmm.
I
Mm.
felt like from what I learned from reading Deacon King Kong, like he's very big into character development,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we learned from the last one. I mean, them crazy names.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, it's just a part of his writing style, and
Hmm.
so I guess I was already prepared for that. But it's funny you guys mentioned this because actually somebody reached out to me earlier about this book, and they was like, I couldn't get into it, and they said the same thing. I think the difference for me may have been so I did do the Audible version, and
Okay.
so again, hearing it out and hearing someone narrate the book is a lot different. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like James McBride kind of writes almost as if he's like writing a script. Like I think
Hmm.
these books could very well be a series or a movie because he's so descriptive in how he develops the characters and the atmosphere and the environment and so he's really painting pictures with words. And so I
Mhm.
felt from that perspective it was still on par with the previous book we read.
Hmm.
Um, I enjoyed it. I mean, y'all know your boy love history, so like Isaiah mentioned, the fact that it was written in the 30s, it was kind of relevant to, the immigrant population at that time, and even just the
Hmm.
mixture of different ethnic groups and people that are cohabitating in neighborhoods, and then getting to a point where like, all right, well, it's time for us to go, and others kind of take over, and just the mixture of the melting pot, which we know the United States to be. And so I
Hmm.
think it did a good job kind of capturing that. It was a lot of back and forth, but again, I was kind of expecting it just from the previous writing and just all the characters and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
I enjoyed the book. I was very pleased. Again, I think the Audible version, whoever narrated, I can't remember the narrator's name, but did a great job. Of course, if you're doing those voices, the different characters and inflections, like all those things help out with
Hmm.
making the presentation a lot easier. And so, had I read it, yeah, I might have had some of those stumbles that you guys had, but listening to it, I thought it was pretty good, man. And so I'm gonna give my boy. I'm gonna give it a. I'm
Oh, Chris.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8. I
Okay.
enjoyed the book. I was pleased
Okay.
with it. There were a few. I ain't gonna lie. Now, there's a few moments I was confused. I still have a few questions about some characters.
Me
I don't even
too.
know what their roles were within the book, but look,
Hmm.
we'll talk about that later. So, look, coming to Miss Kimberly Lake to close this rating out. And again, all right, we're doing good. We ain't got no half ratings. We sticking to whole numbers this time. So,
Right.
if you had to rate this book, Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride, what would it be?
Well, I'll say this. I agree with Chris in the fact that this is like his first book to me. And I remember, I feel like before when we did Deacon King Kong, I said the same critique about him having a lot of characters and hard to follow. If I did, I'll put the clip here.
So I usually don't have to do this, but I had to look up a summary and character list because in the first couple of chapters, it's so many so many people and all these different names, and I could not keep track of it.
Okay, so I think that this book was very hard for me to finish. If we didn't have to do it on this podcast, I wouldn't have finished it. It just did not like I could not get into it until maybe like the middle of the book. So I feel like a lot of characters and the side stories with everybody were like not necessary. And I just feel like if he stuck with like the main characters like all the way, it would have been better. But it was just too much going on. Like I listened to it on Audible, but I could not follow and concentrate because it was like a new character, and I'm like, okay, so different parts of the book piqued my interest, like when Shona died and sorry, spoiler alert, but when she died and other things happened. But overall this wasn't my kind of book. Not to say you not go out and read it for yourself, because there was a lot of people, like Larissa said, that did like the book. So I think everybody should read it and see if they like it. But it just wasn't my cup of tea. As I'm sipping tea, was not my cup of tea. So if I had to give it a rating, I actually would rate it a 4 for me.
Whoa! I'm shocked. Like, whoa!
Oh, so you want to change yours now, Isaiah?
I do, but I'm gonna keep it.
I get a 2. I get a 2.
So yeah, I would say a 4. It's not. I mean, he's a great writer.
He is.
It's not. It's just like the story did not interest. Like I was trying to get into the story, it just did not interest me. Like all the way through, even like. Yeah, so I'll just stop there for our next questions. But I would give it a 4, but I would say go out and read it because you might love it.
He can, like Kim said, he can really paint a picture. Like you can feel yourself in the scene when you're reading a book. It's just that I just couldn't get into it. It was too much going on, like a family reunion every page, like too many people in the house.
Yeah. No, like I said, I agree, and I think that's a part of his writing style. Like I said, when I remember reading Deacon King Kong, it was very similar, and it was so many characters up front that you almost had to have like a cheat sheet of who was who to continue following. But yeah, okay. So we kind of already touched on it anyway. I mean, there were a ton of characters throughout this book, and then he didn't hold any punches in his description of characters. The different references, and even giving background information on those characters. I mean, it was just a lot. So with that being said, if you had to trade places with a character, or even who would you consider to be your favorite character, and why, from this book, Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. And Miss Laria Reed, I'm gonna jump to you on this one. If you had to pick a character, who would that be and why?
None of them. I was really trying to. I really was. Look, I had to go back through and try to. Okay, which one? None, because everybody had so many. It was just the characters would develop so much. I didn't have any mystery to say like, okay, well, I would kind of maybe I did. Then I was like, well, maybe is it Dodo or do look? I want to say
Dodo.
Yeah. And I was like, no, because they were no. But I'm telling y'all, I could not get into this. This is the first time in 4 seasons that I felt like this. And I know Isaiah has done this before, but I am Isaiah. I felt like on the way coming over, I am Isaiah today.
Traded places.
I have traded places. I have nothing to give for this. I have nothing. 0. I'm sorry. But none of them. I'm sorry. I didn't want to make nothing up. I wanted to state the truth. And that's the truth. I just
the truth will set you free.
I know I'm free today. I am free. Sorry.
Kim, what about you? Did you have a character or a favorite?
Well, I would say Shona, even though she ended up dying and all that. But I just
Right.
think
That's why I was like,
besides
God, yeah.
besides
You ain't
I
wish
would have
that death
God.
on
said her, but
yourself.
she
Brother.
died.
right.
I was like, well, never mind.
Besides that, I think yeah, she was a cool character,
Mhm.
she was revolutionary in the fact that, she was with the black folks for black people back then. So I thought she was a cool character. And
Mhm.
actually I looked up James McBride, like his grandmother is Jewish.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
he never got to meet her, but he modeled Shona after his grandmother. So even though like he didn't get to meet, he like kind of because his grandmother also owned a grocery store and all that stuff. So he kind of
Hmm.
in his mind pictured how his grandmother would be. So I just thought
Hmm.
that was interesting as an aside. But I would pick Shona because I just thought she was an interesting character. Interesting character to me. Um, that's all I got on that.
Okay. All right. So coming to my brother, man. I know, like again, I know this wasn't high on your list, and so I done heard from Laria. Hopefully, you got something for it. But did you have a favorite character at all? And if so, who was that and why?
Um, well, I actually had two kind of favorites. It was a toss between, like Kim say, Shona and Dodo. One Shona, I like her because she was actually fearless. She wrote that letter, expressing her opinion, especially to the newspaper about those KKK marches. Like Kim said, she was with the black people. She even took in Dodo because his mom passed away. Basically, she was trying to make him get a home for him so he wouldn't be sent off, even though he actually did get in some type of trouble as well too. But as far as like with the other characters, I couldn't get into them. Sean is a one of the main ones that I do remember a lot happening in the book, as well as with Dodo. But I don't want to trade places with him at all. But those was two. Those was a couple of my characters that I do really remember a lot what they did as well too, as far as like with character development and going through the book. I like them because they actually had a unique relationship. As you read more through the book, I kind of grasp of how they actually formed their relationships. He was a lost child, and she tried to provide him a home as well too. So those are the two that I was most interested in within the character development going through the book.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, like I said, if you read the book or listen, it was definitely a lot of characters. Like I said, you fatted paper, big soap,
Big soap.
Miss Shona, like I said, Dodo, Monkey Pants. It was all these nicknames, all these characters. It was a lot, but like I said, I kind of found it interesting. I was actually kind of intrigued once I figured out who was who, and I was kind of able to keep up with it.
Mhm.
It was actually kind of intriguing to me. So for me, if I had to pick somebody, I'm going with my boy Nate Love, and only because of just the fact. I mean, I feel like he was a stand-up guy. He had a very troubled past. He's gone through a lot. Has a history of just violence and
Mhm.
hardship, but he really worked hard to transform his life and try to be a better person and really trying to kind of restart. I mean, he even went as far as changing his last name, moving away uh, from his hometown to kind of get a restart, but getting to a point where he felt like he had to kind of rehash and go back to that dark side. I mean, he had to take some people out in the end. Again, some spoilers if y'all hadn't read the book, but um, I just feel like he was a good character. I feel like he was a good stand-up guy within the community. Um, and even kind of even getting into the ending a little bit. I mean, but just really just looking out for his for Dodo and adopting him and claiming him as his own. I think was a just a honorable thing to do. And so, like I say, he was well respected within the community. I just thought he was a good guy, and I think he did what was necessary in those times. So I thought my boy Nate Love was the man, most definitely. So
Was Nate Dodo's uncle? I couldn't remember.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so we've kind of again maybe not the favorite book on Four Friends. Like I said, I loved it. Maybe I'm the eyeball in this one, but I thought it was a good book. But even speaking about that, let's talk about the ending a little bit. So again, A
Next.
lot going
That's
on.
it.
A lot of characters. A lot of twists and turns. Like I said, you had people coming up missing, coming up dead. It was a lot. So, were you guys okay with the ending? Like, were you satisfied with the ending? Do you think it could have been better? Like, what are your thoughts about how the book ended? And yeah, let's kind of talk about that. So, Miss Kimberly Lake, you wanna attack this one? How did you feel about the
Yeah, tag
ending?
that, Kim.
Attack it, Kim. There you go, Kim.
Please do it, because
No,
me and Isaiah
actually,
gonna.
the ending was fine to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I was not invested in the characters throughout the book. So the ending, I was just like, okay, wow, that's nice. So I didn't have like an investment in it, but I was happy that Dodo went on to have, a really good life with Nate, had a family and all that. I was
Mm-hmm.
happy to see that
Mm-hmm.
he turned out well, and then Doc got what he got. But overall, I'm satisfied with the ending because I really wasn't too invested in the characters anyway. So however he ended the book was fine with me. So yes.
Okay. Uh, Isaiah, Laria, y'all want to jump on that one?
Is next an option? I honestly, I don't remember a lot from this ending. I remember they found some bones in a well. The hurricane came and wiped away from this city. Like Kim say, at that point I got tired of keep putting it down. I lost investment a lot from this book as well too. It was a lot going on within it. It could keep me afloat towards the end. I do remember that part of that a storm came. I can't remember a lot of whatever. So Laria, maybe you can take it on home,
In the words of Whitney Houston, I have nothing. Nothing. I literally look once again. Going to the truth shall set you free.
Let them know, sleep.
Look, I had to ask Kim what happened at the end because I just couldn't. I
Just couldn't
was
get through
like,
it.
oh my God. You know how you're reading and I'm just like, this is killing me. Thought we'd be
Yes.
good by now, but when she told me, I was like, oh, okay, all right. So that's where I am. I am. Look, Mr. McBride. If we ever met, I love your other book,
I
but
love Dickie
I
King
just
Kong.
yeah.
I
And I
love
guess
Dickie
it
King
was, and
Kong.
I was thinking about it too. I think because of the different nationalities and
Mm-hmm.
him explaining the different people. See, when he did the first one, we could all identify with African American characters. It was different, because if you go to a different black person, okay, I can get that. But we going all over the place and then back over here. It was just a lot this time. Yeah. But anyway, I'm okay with the ending. That was good, but I didn't get to it.
Came up a little
I
short, huh?
couldn't
Just
make
couldn't.
it. Yeah, I couldn't make it. It was wiping me out. The book it wiped me out.
Yeah. And I get it. Like I said, I think I was kind of prepared. Definitely listening helped out. Like your boy, I took a road trip, man. So I was in the car listening. I think that kind of helped out. I really dedicated the time to kind of get through it. Um, I was okay with the ending. So again, some spoilers. So at one point, Dodo ends up in a mental hospital, and so the
Mm-hmm.
whole city really comes together to figure out a plan of how to break him out.
Mm-hmm.
And so they come up with a strategy. They're doing all these different things to get him out. And actually, they break him out. And so again, Nate shows up along with some other people that are kind of critical in this effort. And they break him out, and in the end, they give you a glimpse of what Dodo's life is in the future. I mean, like I said, Nate and his wife go on to adopt him as his own. They actually rename him. He becomes Nate Jr. He goes on to get married, have a family. They're in a farm somewhere. And so uh, I think it was really heartwarming to know that he went from what they call at the time, a deaf and dumb person, a little boy that
Mm-hmm.
couldn't hear and couldn't communicate well, to go on and live almost a normal life, even that he went through these, major adversities of, him losing his mother, seeing Miss Shona get assaulted and raped, and then being put into a mental hospital, almost as taking the blame for that, only to later on find freedom and get out. So I thought it was a good conclusion. It was still a few pieces that I wanted to kind of get wrapped up. But overall, I think, those were kind of the main highlights, and really just seeing that he made it out and was able to live a normal life, I thought was cool. So I was okay with the ending. It was it was good. It was good. I was satisfied, if nothing else. So all right. So Heaven and Earth grocery store. I mean, we finished it. It got a little weight on it. It's a little thick. Again, if you guys haven't checked it out, definitely go pick up this book. Also listen on the Audible version. Like I said, if you're having a hard time, just reading it, that may be an option for you as well. Didn't really score too high on this side over here, man. We got some 4s and 5s, and I was an outlier this time on the high side with an 8. But again, hey, look, we're reading books. They may not always be great, but that's what we do here on Four Friends in the Book podcast. We read books, and we also have discussions related to books and even not related to it. And so that's actually a good segue, a good transition into our hot topic for this month. So not really related. I guess somewhat, but so there's a lot of movement right now, kind of in the political realm, when it comes to some of these historic activities that have been put in place for like diversity. And so the Fearless Fund was created to bridge the gap for venture capital funding for women of color. And so there's actually a person right now, Mr. Edward Blum, that is he's on this movement to really just tear down anything that has to do with diversity or equity within the country. He was kind of one of the backers for even getting affirmative action removed. And so now he's kind of taken on a new stance. And we've talked about that before as well. Like that has, been turned over by our Supreme Court. And so now his next attack is really on any type of legislation or activities that have anything to do with, diversity or equity within our country. And actually the 11th U.S. Supreme Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta has ruled to temporarily block the Fearless Fund. So again, that fund was put into place to try to help fund venture capitalists for women of color. So they've actually put a stay on that right now, based on some of this movement behind some of the things that he's doing. So just wanted to get you guys' thoughts and inputs on, like I said, just it's crazy that, we are in this state where so many things that have historically been put in place are now being overturned and challenged. And I don't even think it's for the good, but just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on, this lawsuit. And also, what do you think, if this setting a precedence for it and in any future ramifications that may come from it? And so, who wants to jump on this one? I'm gonna open the floor up to anyone that want to kind of step into this.
Well, I can go. Well, first, they started with affirmative action. They've been targeting that for over 20 years because that was the domino to go after everything else. History has proven that every time that Black people has built up our community, someone comes trying to tear it down. Now they're trying to do it with the Fearless Fund. They did it with the student loan. That is the biggest way to actually close this equity gap that Black folks have been facing for so many years. It's even worth highlighting that Black women receive 1% of the $215 billion in venture capital funding last year, while their counterparts are trying to actually keep it that way. way. A false narrative would even say that Black people are lazy, self-reliant on handouts. But when we start our own business, they do everything they can to try to destroy it. When we try to establish ownership, it becomes why they're so ambitious. I think it's perceived as a threat of the heights that Black entrepreneurs could reach when given level playing field.
Ooh, boy,
That's
look,
good.
I
That was
thought
a
you was about
rant.
to.
That was
Yeah,
it. That was good.
look. Whenever y'all see that vein come out his head, that boy,
Right.
he's turning up. Yeah, that's good, man. That's good.
Right. Right.
Kim Laria, any thoughts or inputs on that?
I'll
Yeah.
say,
Oh, go
no.
ahead. No, go ahead, Kim.
um, this is something that I think everybody should be paying attention to, because you know how things start off on one sector, but eventually it's going to spread and affect everybody. So I think it's
Mhm.
something everybody should be paying attention to. I just think it is a shame that we are here because,
Mhm.
as Isaiah said, women of color, what he's going after, they only get 1% of the funding. So this fund was created to help um, bring equity for women business owners or people that are not on an equal playing field. And I don't know
Mhm.
why anyone should be against anyone being able to have the same opportunity as you. It's not taking anything away from you, but I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's a
Mhm.
shame that we just got to this point where it's kind of like maybe somebody or people may feel like they're taking from us, so we got to make sure this
Mhm.
doesn't happen. But it's all about, I
Mhm.
mean, diversity is beautiful, having different ideas, and just thinking about all the women like this fund can help, because I'm a business owner. I would love to get the
Mhm.
$20,000 grant myself, so that would
Mhm.
help me in like getting an equal playing field in my industry. So I just
Mhm.
think I hope that they're able to keep this fund. I hope it stops here. I
Mhm.
fear that if it does get turned over, then it's going to kind of spiral and he's just going to find something else to go after, and it's just going to keep going. But hopefully,
Mhm.
the courts will rule in their favor, and they're able to keep the fund and continue help women of color and investing in their businesses. But I just think this is something we all should pay attention to.
Mhm. That's
Yeah,
good. Good.
yeah, that is
Mm-hmm.
good. And I think you guys kind of hit on some key points here. There seems to be a precedence, even with the overturning of affirmative action, and so now this is this domino effect, or things are kind of snowballing into other areas where it's almost perceived as if diversity, equity, and inclusion aren't
Mhm.
needed anymore, which is, in my opinion, the furthest from the truth.
Mhm.
We know the history of this country. We know how there were legislation and other acts put in place to almost keep people of color, minorities, women like out of these systems. I mean, even considering the fact, like I said, at one point women weren't allowed to even vote,
That's right.
and so the fact that we still have these things in place to try to create the equity that's necessary to get everyone on the same playing field, because obviously we are not there. And it's crazy that people think that now these things could just be dismissed or overturned, and I think that's the
Mhm.
concerning piece, is that the
Mhm.
precedent has been set with the affirmative action thing. And so, to Keelan's point, I think we all have to be very aware and vigilant about what's going on within our states and within this country, because otherwise some of the things that have been put in place to help out and to ensure that diversity, equity, and inclusion are utilized across the board could be slowly fading away, and that's scary. That's scary to think about, because that's necessary within a country, within a business, within an industry, just within humanity. That's what makes things, and that's what has kind of been the foundation of this country, that there is so much diversity here, and it's a melting pot. But
Mhm.
there seems to be so many movements to try to erase that, and so it is troubling to think that that may be the case. So, all
Okay.
right, Laria, what's your thoughts on this? And even again, speaking as a woman of color, and just
Mhm.
the perspective or the impact that it could potentially have
Mhm.
from a legal perspective.
Well, I think he's looking at it as a handout when it's really a hand up to stimulate the
Mhm.
economy. And
Mhm.
if you understand grants, it's not like you just get to spend money and just go buy, put down a
Mm-hmm.
payment for a Benz or something. You have to give an account for each dollar that you spend. So it's not like you just out here just freeballing. Thirdly, I don't think he understands how businesses work because $20,000 is not a lot of money. I mean, it's by the time you get started, pay for if you're having a place or product or equipment or whatever it is you're doing, that
Mm-hmm.
helps. But it's not like you really need a lot more because most businesses go under because they don't have the funding to keep going. So this is
Mm-hmm.
really just a pick me up to kind of help you get going. And then on top of that, all of this money is going back into the economy.
That's true.
So I just don't understand. This is from, I'm coming from a business standpoint, not necessarily I'm a woman of color standpoint, because you all have already pointed out those things. I'm just thinking financially, common
Mm-hmm.
sense, business wise, this is where we are. So why wouldn't you want that? Because they have other grants for other things through the federal government that he's not even targeting. So it's got to be because of the race, which
That's
is
true.
sad.
That's
I mean,
true.
it makes no sense. Do you know how much money we give every year for so much? And why aren't you attacking politicians for all the loopholes they have? How is it that they go in and they're a regular citizen and they leave millionaires? I mean, how is that? But nobody's really going after any of those things. You're coming to the small person, the least of these, to try to stop. And I, I've read that and I thought about the scripture we've been doing in our Bible studies about vengeance is mine, said the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think he really realizes what he's doing, because these are people who are really trying to establish a legacy for their children. But he's missing the whole point. I just feel like he's just missed it all. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my point.
Nah, that's good. And maybe he hasn't missed the point. Maybe it's intentional because again,
It's got to be.
there's so many
Mm-hmm.
movements out here to almost disenfranchise, minorities or people of color.
Right.
And again, it's just crazy that, we read a lot of books here. We've kind of learned the history of this country in other areas, but to think that we're still having to fight some of these battles for things
Mm-hmm.
that are being
Hmm.
put in place to try to, bring equality and equity within this country.
Mm-hmm.
And just to
Right.
see them kind of start to crumble it's saddening. So
Right.
good discussion, good talk. So just wrapped up the book, The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride.
Yeah.
Didn't really do too well. Look, I love it.
But we love James. We love James.
James, look, if you
We
need
love
somebody to
him.
review your next book, hey, look,
Call Chris.
call me. Call me.
I'm scared. I don't want to give you the bad review, Jay.
Yeah. But like I said, what do you guys think? Like I do think it would do well like as a in film format. I think with you don't think so?
What? I think it would be a good mini series
Yeah. Yeah.
because you could
I mean,
flesh out the character. I think it would be it was just a good mini series.
Kim is the producer, so she can see what I
Yeah.
can't see.
yeah. All right. So just finished that book. Had a discussion. Our hot topic for this month, the Fearless Fund lawsuit, and just kind of the implications and ramifications of that. So yeah, good discussion, good review. But of course, y'all know what time it is. It wouldn't be a show if we didn't have it. Our favorite segment of the show, which we entitle The Rant. 60 second, uninterrupted, coming from my brother, Mr. Rant Man himself. Listen, I say it every show, and it's real. We never know what we're getting. We don't know what he's gonna be talking about. Our producers keep everything else good for some of our other topics. But the rant is just wide open. I mean, so like we hearing it for the first time here as well. And so my brother, do what you do, man. Starting now, go.
On August 10th, a routine evening for Mr. Johnny Hollman took a tragic turn when he left Bible study. Mr. Hollman was on his way home when he made a phone call to his daughter, letting her know that he had been involved in a minor car crash. He reassured her that he was okay and the police was on his way. Little did he know that events would follow would end his life. According to the police report, the Atlanta police officer on the scene determined Mr. Hollman was at fault for the crash, wrote him a traffic citation, then attempted to take him into custody, all because he allegedly refused to sign the ticket. He was then tased, handcuffed, and passed away at the scene. Mr. Hollman was a devoted church deacon, a dad, and a grandfather. His family disputes everything that the authorities have said about his death. They disputed him having a previous heart condition. They say he was not intoxicated, he was not combative, and he did not refuse to sign a traffic ticket. But they also only been allowed to watch 5 of the 36-minute body cam video given by the DA. This is unacceptable. So now we must be in perfect health so that police can tase us in peace? Why was he even tased at all is the question. Because he didn't want to sign a traffic citation? I hope that this traffic passing would not be in vain, and that it will contribute to a much needed changes in police practices. And that's that on that.
That's good. Yeah, as always, man, I thank you for continuing to keep us informed and educated about what's going on. It's still crazy, and even, so we're now in a state where we have body cams, and you would think those would be kind of open and shut from just
Right.
the video and information perspective, but it's still so many things that are being contested, even when you have the evidence right in front of you, and so there's still a lot of reform that needs to take place. There's still a lot of things that need to be kind of cleared up within our country, even when it comes to police and police reform as well. So yeah, man, thank you for keeping us educated and informed on that as well. So all right, so look, book, hot topic, rant. I mean, that's what we do here on Four Friends in the Book podcast. And again, we want you guys to tune in and join us each month as we read a book and talk about the hot topics and have these rants. So my brother Isaiah, tell them what we have coming up next.
Hey guys, before we let you go, we wanted to let you know that we're actually going to be reading Jada Pickett's new book called Worthy. You don't want to miss it. L'Oreal, please tell the viewers when they can tune in.
You can tune in every third Thursday right here, wherever you're watching us.
And on social media, make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And if you're a fan of our podcast, make sure to leave us a review so we know that you love it and people can see that you love it too.
Absolutely. And guys, we thank you for your support and for continuing just rock with us here on Four Friends in the Book. And as always, let's continue to read, let's learn, let's grow, and let's have a discussion right here on Four Friends in the Book. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.